Farmers today are facing rising costs, volatile markets, and extreme weather. The Better Way to Farm podcast digs into strategies to help you take control of farm inputs and maximize profit so your farm can thrive for generations. Remember to take advantage of our free resources at abetterwaytofarm.com. Now, from America's Heartland, here's your host.
Most farmers wait until they see a problem before they try to fix it. That's one of the most expensive habits in farming, because once the crop starts showing visual symptoms, you have already lost bushels. The yield hit has already happened. Today, we're talking about tissue testing, how to identify stress before it becomes visible, why healthy-looking crops can still be underperforming, and how smart farmers use tissue testing to protect profitability instead of reacting after the damage is done, because the plant always tells the truth. Hey, Rod here to Better Way to Farm, and in today's episode, we're going to dive into this as a manner of helping you hang on to more yield. The biggest mistake that farmers make with tissue testing tends to be that they wait too long. They don't tissue test until after they've seen yellowing, stunting, uneven growth, poor color, or firing leaves. And by then, the photosynthesis has already slowed down. The energy production has already dropped. The root development has already been adversely affected, and the yield potential has already been reduced. The plant was stressed before the leaf ever changed color. Waiting for visual symptoms before tissue testing is like waiting for the engine to lock up before checking the oil. Guys, the goal is not to diagnose lost yield. The goal is to protect yield before the problem becomes visible. Soil tests tell us potential, but tissue tests tell us reality. The soil test does matter tremendously because we have to do our best job with row placement when we start, but they do not tell the entire story. Just because a nutrient is in the soil doesn't mean that the plant can access it. It doesn't mean that the roots will uptake it, and it doesn't mean that environmental conditions will allow movement. What are some of the stress factors that can work on this? Cold weather, like we've had this spring. Saturated soils, like some of us have had this year. Extremely dry weather, like our friends in Kansas and western Nebraska are fighting. High pH, compaction, root restriction, and herbicide stress. The fertilizer dealer can tell you what you bought, but the tissue test will tell you what the plant actually got. Hidden hunger is a very, very real thing. A crop can look pretty good and still be losing yield. That's what makes the hidden hunger so dangerous. Hidden hunger is something that is talked about in a lot of the different books from the soil up. It's talked about in Neil Kinsey's Hands-on Agronomy. It's talked about in the Midwest Labs Agronomy Handbook. And they talk about the fact that you can not see it, but it's there. And by the time you do see things like a manganese deficiency, a sulfur deficiency, a zinc deficiency, or a boron deficiency, the crop has already been struggling for several days or maybe weeks already. Most farmers think if it looks green, we're fine. But appearance and performance are not always the same thing. Hidden hunger always turns into visible yield loss. Timing matters so much more than most people realize. In corn, what are those windows? Well, we want to tissue test at V2 because we're going to foliar feed at V3 to V5 so that when we're determining how long those rows are going to be, how many kernels we're going to set on, they've got everything in there to give that plant the best opportunity to think it's ready to go. We have another window at V8 to V12 as we're getting ready to go into the tasseling. We want to make sure that plant is happy, healthy, and terrific. And then, of course, right at pre-tassel is one more time. In the soybeans, we want to look at that early vegetative stage. Again, testing at V2 so that we can foliar feed at V3 to V5. We have another window in there that's really big at R1 and R2 to help hang on to those blooms. And then, of course, a lot of guys are doing some work at pod fill to increase that size of that soybean and to increase the density. Early season stress creates season-long consequences, and we never make up for the lost early growth. That first 21 to 30 days are so critical because that's when the yield potential is being built. Let's talk about some common tissue testing mistakes. Number one, we only test after visual symptoms appear. Number two, we take the wrong part of the plant. Number three, we test too late. Number four, we ignore the micronutrients. Number 5, we fail to compare the healthy part of the field with the struggling part of the field to try to ascertain what the problem is. And number 6, and the worst one in my opinion, is getting data but never acting upon it. Guys, we are drowning in data in the United States. And data is only valuable if we turn it into profit. And we want to make sure we act on it. Too many growers are tissue testing just to say they tissue tested. But the fact is we get the information and then we do something with it. This is not about spending more money. It's about protecting bushels. It's about improving efficiency. It's about making smarter decisions. And it's about increasing the ROI on every acre we farm. You know, it's interesting. Farmers will spend thousands and thousands of dollars on fertilizer, thousands of dollars on fungicide, thousands and thousands of dollars on seed, but then they might hesitate over a $24 tissue test that could dramatically improve decision making. Small deficiencies become very expensive deficiencies at harvest time. Guys, we've seen so many real world examples about this. We've seen the time when someone thought that a sulfur deficiency was a nitrogen deficiency. And when we see yellow as an industry, we always think nitrogen. That's not true. If it's yellow at the bottom of the plant in the old growth, in a V moving down the midrib, that's probably nitrogen. If it's yellow at the bottom and crusty out on the edges, that's probably potassium. If we have yellow intervenal striping at the bottom in the old growth, that's probably magnesium. If we have yellowing overall in the top of the plant in the new growth, that's probably sulfur. And if we have yellow at the top with intervenal striping, that's probably manganese. But the fact of the matter is, we need to tissue test because we want to confirm and get it right. We don't want to just be guessing. Some other examples that we've seen of mistakes that were made here is we see people who have soybeans that are struggling from manganese tie-up in the high pH soils. We see people in high pH soils who are fighting iron chlorosis really bad. And the fact is we see tissue tests revealing deficiencies before the symptoms appeared if they will pull the test. And this lets us correct those micronutrient deficiencies before we get into the reproductive stages. Another thing that we've seen that's made some real world examples is some people who've went out and they have actually compared their high yield zones with their low yield zones and ascertained what it is that's making the difference. And sometimes it's something that's very, very simple. And all we have to do is make one simple correction to make a big difference in those lower parts of the field. You know, it's interesting because the yield monitor will tell you where you lost yield, but the tissue testing will tell you why. Let's talk about some practical steps that we can take in order to make this work better. Some real simple advice for growers to implement. Number 1, keep it simple. Start simple. Pick one field. Tissue test at the key growth stages. Compare the healthy and the stressed areas. Test those separate and compare those. And then use the information quickly and keep records year after year and see how much you can improve things over a period of time. Do not overcomplicate this. You are simply giving yourself better information so that you can make better decisions. If you want help understanding tissue test or building a fertility plan that actually fits your farm, reach out to the team. You can text Karen, the word test, at 641-919-5570, and someone will reach out and help you understand what to sample, when to sample, how to interpret those results, and how to actually use this data to make profit. Ladies and gentlemen, the goal is not just a greener crop. The goal is a more profitable crop. And profitable farmers make decisions before problems become visible. Because once the crop shows the symptoms, the yield loss has already started. We really appreciate all of you tuning in and following the episodes of the podcast. And we appreciate getting to be a small part of your life. We appreciate all you guys' time. We thank you very much. And we always wish you to have a better day.